Welcome to our English news edition coming to you from Canal, Algérie. To the headlines. The President of the Republic receives a delegation of the Algerian Economic Renewal Council and the Algerian historians, members of the Algerian-French Joint Commission. And the development program of Tisimsil province at the heart of the government held in this province to be boosted in several sectors. Army General Said Chingariha, the Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, chairs the proceedings of a seminar devoted to the information and the preservation of memory. And the cars industry is gaining ground with an agreement signed between the Algerian Investment Promotion Agency and the Italian manufacturer Fiat. Good evening, those were the headlines. First in our news, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, received on Wednesday a delegation of the Algerian Economic Renewal Council, headed by its President, Kamal Moula. The audience took place in the presence of the Principal Private Secretary of the Presidency, Abdelaziz Khalaf, as well as the President's advisor in charge of Economic Affairs, Yassine Wild Moussa. Following the audience, the President of the Algerian Economic Renewal Council had this to say.
I would like to start by thanking the President of the Republic for the warm welcome. Our meeting was fruitful, in which we discussed several issues, in particular the purchase power of the citizens that is given a great importance by the President of the Republic. We have talked about a mechanism to be put in order to increase the purchase power and the creation of work opportunities. We also discussed about the bureaucracy issue that is still worrying and how to remedy this issue that is an obstacle in the face of the economic recovery. We also discussed about exports and recalled a meeting that took place 3 weeks ago that united about 300 economic operators, a conference about exports that was a success and resulted in 30 recommendations that would allow to achieve $30 billion of exports out of hydrocarbons by 2030. And to finish, on behalf of all my co-workers, members of the Algerian Economic Renewal Council, I would like to thank once more the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, for his trust and to reaffirm that we are always at the service of the citizens and the country.
On Wednesday, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, received the 5 Algerian historians appointed as members of the Algerian-French Joint Commission. The audience took place in the presence of the Principal Private Secretary of the Presidency, Abdelaziz Khalaf, and the President's advisor in charge of archives, Abdelmajid Sheikhi. Pursuant to the decisions taken during the last meeting of the Council of Ministers, the periodic government meeting was held on Wednesday in the province of Tisimsil, chaired by the Prime Minister Ayman bin Abdurrahman and fully dedicated to the complementary development program of the region. The details with Melissa Kabash.
The government meeting was held in the province of Tisimsil and was presided over by the Prime Minister Ayman bin Abdurrahman. The second meeting was dedicated to debate the roadmap of the complementary program. Prime Minister bin Abdurrahman stated during a press conference that a package of $100 billion has been allocated for the implementation of the complementary development program as decided by the President of the Republic for the province of Tisimsil.
بتعليمات سامية من السيد رئيس الجمهورية اجتمعت الحكومة.
Pursuant to the President of the Republic's guidelines, the government held a meeting in the province of Tisimsil so as to concretize the complementary development project for the province, which will benefit from 90 projects and $100 billion. The first sector that gained a number of projects is that of public works, hydraulics and basic structure. We also aim to provide safe drinking water and that of irrigation.
The Prime Minister also affirmed that 17 ministerial sectors, including agriculture and tourism, are concerned by this amount.
هناك قطاعات أخرى استفادت من أغلفة مالية إن
Other sectors benefited as well from budgetary package, notably tourism, agriculture, rural development, culture, higher education, interior, as well as environment, energy, renewable energy, and mines. 17 sectors have been granted a financial package so as to boost the economic activity. And as decided by the President of the Republic in his program and commitments, we aim to concretize in collaboration with local authorities the roadmap worked out during the meeting to ensure a sufficient follow-up that won't exceed 36 months.
He also announced the installation of an intersectoral commission to solve the real estate problem in the province. It will include the Interior, Agriculture and Finance ministries.
بالنسبة لي وجود إشكالية في العقار.
Concerning real estate, we've established a mechanism to solve this problem. A joint ministerial commission has been set up as well and includes the Ministry of Interior, that of Finance and Agriculture to examine agricultural and forest lands and integrate them among scheduled projects. The province will also benefit from additional real estate that will allow the implementation of projects.
Regarding the ministerial delegation, its first stopover was the railway station, where the Prime Minister urged for the acceleration of the completion works and respect the deadline set, adding that the most important thing is to link the north of the country to the south through the railway. He also insisted on the adoption of an economic approach so as to manage the economical field. Prime Minister bin Abdurrahman also visited the University of Tisim-Silt, where he inaugurated another university pole dedicated to languages, which includes a department for nature and life science. And at the end, the delegation visited the city of 1,184 Adiel housing unit and named it after the martyr Nader bin Yamina. Finally, Prime Minister held a meeting with the civil society, during which he listened to the concerns of Tisim-Silt's inhabitants in terms of local development, investment and employment, affirming the authorities' will and implementing all the projects and decisions to improve the citizens' living conditions.
In other news, the President of the National People's Assembly, Brahim Boughali, chaired on Wednesday a meeting of the Assembly's Bureau, during which written and oral questions, in addition to 9 propositions, were examined. In a different context, the Army General Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, Saeed Shingriha, chaired the opening of a forum held on Wednesday by the Information and Communication Department of the General Staff of the National People's Army at the National Center of the Army in the capital, Algiers. Ines Killo will tell us more.
Army General, Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, Saeed Shingriha, presided over the opening of the proceedings of this forum in the presence of Minister of Foreign Affairs, the commanders of the forces and the National Gendarmerie, the commander of the 1st Military Region, the heads of central services of the Ministry of National Defense, and the General Staff of the National People's Army, as well as national figures and officials of national media outlets and institutions. At the beginning of this forum and after listening to the national anthem, Army General Saeed Shingriha delivered a speech in which he welcomed the participants.
هذه الندوة يأتي تنظيمها تزامنا مع شهر نوفمبر الأغر، شهر الثورة المجيدة التي حطمت قيود الاستعمار وكانت ميلاد فجر جديد.
He stressed that the holding of this forum coincides with the commemorative festivities of the 60th anniversary of the recovery of our national independence, which witnessed the organization of a huge military parade, and the 68th anniversary of the outbreak of the glorious revolution of national liberation, which was marked by the hosting of the 31st Arab Summit, a very important event which reflected the unwavering commitments of the new Algeria to its bright history. Inspired by this glorious history under the auspices of the new Algeria, the features of which were established by the President of the Republic, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense. Our country celebrated several events this year which were historic by all standards, whether in terms of the level of representation or in terms of the decisions adopted. And all of this reflects the extent of our connection to our glorious history.
وهو ما تدركه بلادنا جيدا حيث تعمل.
Army General also stressed that one of the most important challenges facing our country today is the attempts to break the attachment of our people to their memory and separate them from the principles and values that their ancestors carried and defended them, stressing that our country is well aware of the danger of this toxic ideology and is working to eliminate its effect by attaching great importance to the file of memory as one of the pillars of building a new Algeria, especially through a number of decisions that reflect our inherent values and the extent of our adherence to our identity and our glorious history. In this context, the President of the Republic reiterates on every occasion the duty to preserve it and to give it the attention and interest that are due to it, as in the case of the efforts to repatriate the remains of the Shuhada of the Popular Resistance from the Humanity Museum in Paris and bury them in the land for which they fell as martyrs, as well as to adopt the 8th of May of every year as a national day of patriotic memory, and observe a minute of silence commemorating the massacres of October 17, 1961, without forgetting the launch of a Dakira channel while giving particular attention to national events. All these actions reflect the image of loyalty and sincerity to the sacrifices of millions of Shuhada or martyrs. At the end, the Army General announced the official opening of this forum. The proceedings of this scientific event continued with an opening speech delivered by the Director of Information and Communication of the People's National Army Staff, which revolved around the role of national information and efforts of the National Army in anchoring the values of national memory for the consolidation of national defense. Afterwards, the audience watched a documentary film on the theme of the conference, which was followed by 3 lectures held by university professors and experts in the field of history and information, highlighting the importance of national memory in preserving the nation-state and overcoming current and future challenges, the responsibility of media in anchoring the values of national memory in order to strengthen national defense, and information of memory prospects approach in the building of collective consciousness. These conferences were marked by a remarkable interaction of the attendees who contributed via these debates to enrich the theme of this conference.
The retired general and war veteran Mohammed Bachin was buried on Wednesday in the Martyrs Square in Constantine Cemetery, where present the former president and war veteran Yamin Zarwal, the principal private secretary of the Ministry of Mujahideen, as well as civil and military authorities of Constantine province and the late's family members. Let us now have a listen to Yamin Zarwal.
May God have mercy on his soul. Mohammed Bachin was my brother and a war veteran, and he had gave so much to the country. May he rest in peace.
To investment now, an agreement was signed on Wednesday between the Stellantis Group and the Algerian Investment Promotion Agency as part of an agreement for a launch of a car manufacturing project in Algeria of the Italian brand Fiat. It has also been estimated that 60,000 vehicles will be manufactured during the first year. During a keynote speech made on the occasion, the Industry Minister Ahmed Zaghdar said that this is an important step and that the agreement will allow the construction of the factory as well as the subscription to the Book of Specifications. Zaghdar reiterated the state's determination to achieve this project so as to develop the sector of car manufacturing. He also highlighted the adherence and compliance of the Italian company with the state's outlined strategy. In other news, and as part of the fight against terrorism, detachments of the National People's Army, in coordination with the various security services, arrested 9 support elements for terrorist groups in separate operations across the national territory. As part of the fight against organized crime and the scourge of drug trafficking in our country, detachments of the National People's Army, in coordination with the various security services, foiled attempts to introduce huge quantities of drugs in the borders with Morocco, amounting to 3 quintals and 55 kilograms of treated cannabis. These operations also resulted in the arrest of 62 drug traffickers and more than 116,000 psychotropic tablets. In Tamarasset, Borj Baji Mukhtar, Engzam, Janet and Tindouf, the National People's Army's detachments intercepted 312 individuals and seized a Kalashnikov, a quantity of ammunition, 29 vehicles, 264 generators, 111 jackhammers, 1 metal detector, in addition to detonation tools and equipment used in illicit gold mining operations. They also seized 4 rifles, quantities of foodstuffs intended for smuggling and speculation amounting to 92 tons, as well as 26,000 packets of tobacco and more than 28,000 units of various drinks, and that during separate operations. In the same context, the border police, in coordination with the services of the National Gendarmerie, thwarted attempts to smuggle large quantities of fuel that exceeds 24,000 liters in Tibisa, Suqahras, Ataraf, and Tamarasset. 178 illegal immigrants of different nationalities were also arrested across the national territory. In other news, 2 films directed by the Italian journalist and human rights militant Elena Rusca were screened at the National Institute for Global Strategy Studies. This committed director highlighted the dilemma of the Sahrawi people and their untold daily suffering dictated by the Moroccan occupation forces. The Arab League celebrated the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people. To this effect, Algeria's delegate Hamid Shibira read out the president's message, in which the head of state Abdelmajid Tebboune reiterated Algeria's unwavering support for the Palestinian cause and struggle within the international legality. The 46th edition of UKOKO, slated for Friday and Saturday in the German capital Berlin, will be an opportunity to denounce the sinister autonomy plans suggested by Morocco and reiterate that Western Sahara's independence will only be snatched via the Sahrawis' legitimate right of self-determination, according to the representative of the Polisario Front in Europe and the European Union, Obi Busharaya Bashir. The Moroccan people took to the streets of Casablanca to voice their support with the Palestinian cause betrayed by the Makhzen regime. A protest movement was held by the Moroccan Front for the support of Palestine to denounce normalization with the Zionist entity. Story by Ines Kilo.
Against normalization with the Zionist entity are unabated in Morocco. A large number of inhabitants of the city of Casablanca participated in a demonstration to express their anger against normalization, a protest movement which also brought together many political figures, human rights activists and members of local civil society.
اليوم نقف في هذه الوقفة الشعبية في اليوم العالمي للتضامن مع الشعب الفلسطيني كنرسل
We are protesting today to denounce this shameful agreement and voice our support to the Palestinian people. On the occasion of the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people, firstly, we want to deliver a message. As we Moroccans, we support the right of Palestinian people to self-determination and the right to resist and liberate their land. Secondly, our message to the Zionist entity is that the Palestinian lands belongs to Palestinians only.
العدو الصهيوني الآن يترنح تحت ضربات المقاومة وهو لا يمكن مطلقا الاقبال به في المنطقة.
The protest movement ended with a call to defend Al-Aqsa Mosque and to reject normalization. Another demonstration of solidarity with the Palestinian people was also held on Tuesday evening by opponents of normalization in front of the Parliament building in the capital Rabat to commemorate the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people, celebrated on November 29th each year.
The social front is still boiling with fresh protest movements carried out by the justice employees, notably the provisions of the 2023 finance law. Najah Tayyar has more.
The 2023 finance law in Morocco still triggers disapproval and anger of several private professions who demonstrated, like the notaries who once again staged a sit in front of the parliament. The Association of Moroccan Notaries denounced their exclusion from establishing contracts of state-subsidized housing ownership and called for the Article 8 of the 2023 Finance Law amendment that is considered unfair for the entire corporation of the Adouls. The Adouls of Morocco are standing in front of the parliament to make their voice heard to the nation's MPCs and advisors and to the nation's public opinion and to all officials and denounce the exclusion and the marginalization unfortunately. Also the Article 8 of the 2023 Finance Law that gave right to a party at the expense of another. Several forms of protests are planned to make the voice of notaries heard in order to restore justice and meet their claims considered as legitimate and fair to provide important services to the citizens. The ownership of a house from the housing subsidized by state is given to some categories and not to all. And we came to denounce that. This matter is the real estate law's field. The 2023 finance law is not concerned. This matter is not accepted. Faithful to its policy, the Mersin regime ignores all the demands of the Moroccan people, who are suffering from the unprecedented economic crisis and plunging them into extreme precariousness.
Let's move now to the FIFA World Cup 2022 being held in Qatar. France progressed to the knockout stages despite its 1-0 defeat versus Tunisia. Australia is the second side of Group D to qualify after beating Denmark with the same score. As for Group C, Argentina advanced to the second stage of the competition after beating with 2-0 Poland, which secured its qualification as well. Mexico defeated Saudi Arabia with 2-1, yet both sides are out of the tournament. And with that, our today's news edition comes to a close. Thank you for tuning in and goodbye.